them is it's
From Chicago.
I'm from.
They said I talked really fast, didn't understand half the time, yeah.
Were you scared?
I don't think so, but probably looking back now a little bit, yeah.
Hello folks and welcome to Dried Watermelon, the latest commentary channel that's going to be reacting and commenting on different types of videos, whether it's comedy, whether it's news items, or whether it's just silly dumb things happening online. Hoping to share my commentaries and my opinions and also just hear yours as well. Hope you're willing to follow along. Thanks. Today we're looking at our first video. This one is called What No One Tells You Before Coming to Korea by K Explorer. So this one should be fun to watch, and I've already seen this before, but some of the comments, I don't know, it started to kind of bug me a little bit. I think they actually have a lot of good points, but anyways, I just want to interact with it and also hear what you have to say. All right, thanks. Let's watch.
What are things to know before coming to Korea?
I have 3 things in mind. One of them is that there's no trash cans. You will struggle. You will have to probably walk a kilometer to find one.
This is absolutely true and not an exaggeration at all. There are almost no public trash cans there at all. I was in Korea about a year and a half ago, and I was shocked at how few trash cans there were. Here in the West, I live in Canada, and there are so many trash cans. Sometimes there are 3 public trash cans on the same corner, and it seems a little inefficient, but it's very convenient. Over there, no. And you might be wondering, so what do they do with trash? Well, you either eat where you're at or deal with it where you're at, or you just carry it with you. Apparently, this is also the case in some other parts of Asia as well. You can maybe let me know if you know if that's a fact or not. But for sure in Seoul, where I was at, very few public trash cans. A lot of times, even like the street food places, if you're eating, they'll just cover their dish with a little bit of saran wrap. You eat it, they take it off, they throw that little bit of saran wrap away, and they wash the dish again, they reuse it. So it cuts down on the trash for sure, very convenient. Now, saying all this, you'd think that for a place with very few public trash cans, that there would actually be a lot of litter and garbage, but my goodness, very, very little garbage around. It was so clean and pristine, so this actually doesn't necessarily contribute to more garbage, interestingly enough.
The second one is if you're a smoker, babe, you are not able to walk with the streets. In London, you can have a little cheeky coffee and have a little cigarette in your hands, but unfortunately in Korea, you can't do that. You have to go to alleyways and just look on the floor if there's cigarettes and just smoke there. Third one is, I love Korea. You know, 대한민국, cha 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 cha. Like, I love Korea, but unfortunately there are going to be a few bad apples, and one of my experiences was that I took a taxi one time and he accepted it, and he came and he was like, 흑인을 받지 않습니다, 갑자기. And I was like, huh? 이건 인종차별이죠. 근데, like, there's always going to be people that are racist, but there's only a few that I've encountered here. Most of them have been very, very accepting.
Okay, so first off, her Korean is really good. Like, her accent is just spot on, really, really impressive for a foreigner to speak Korean that fluently. That's really, really impressive. So that's awesome. Secondly, yeah, unfortunately, there are racists in Korea. This is not the majority of people, but it's still a very, very homogenous society. And so it wouldn't surprise me that there are racists. There are racists everywhere. There are bad apples everywhere. She's absolutely right. Many people are very welcoming, but 100%. I just don't understand racism like that, though, especially from someone who needs to make a living off of giving people rides. Why would you not accept rides from black people, even if you are racist, right? They're giving you money to help pay for your bills and everything. So that's just foolish from an economic standpoint. But of course, morally, it's just bad. It's just terrible. So unfortunately, it still does exist. I think with more foreigners, more visitors traveling to Korea and happening, hopefully it'll cut down on less and less. And this channel by K Explorer seems to be talking about a lot of those issues around Korean society and homogeneity, and challenging that as well. So that's great to see.
As a foreigner, if you already have bad social anxiety and you come to Korea, it's going to get worse. Everybody's going to stare at you. All the old people, the ajushis, the ajumas, they're going to want to talk to you, ask you where you're from in their terrible, terrible English. But that's something you're going to have to learn to live with.
Yeah, absolutely. She's right. You're going to get stared at a lot, especially if you look different in Korea. Now, having said that, that happens pretty much everywhere. If you go into a small town in Western Canada or in the States sometimes as well, there are still places where you're going to get stared at and looked at. Like, have you never seen someone of color before? Or what's going on? But anyways, but I guess it shows that when you're different, you look different, right? It doesn't matter where you are in the world. And there's so many other places, right, that are homogenous that I've lived in other parts of the world and I've stood out because of the way I look, and people will just stare at you. So yeah, absolutely, that happens in Korea and happens elsewhere too.
For myself from the US, the beauty standard here is very strict and very different, and people's experiences of Korea is going to vary dramatically based on how well they're able to and willing to fit into that beauty standard.
For sure. So Korean beauty standards are very, very different and also really, really strict in terms of your body shape. They want you to be skinny and lean and so on. But you know what? This is changing. And that's being changed by, I think, their own diet and their own bodies and the way, the influence of other country media and so on like that. I remember I went back a long time ago in the 90s. And when I was there, I remember seeing a lot of different, most people there were quite short. And then I went again more recently, and I couldn't believe how tall Koreans were. I think Koreans are one of the tallest Asian groups, just in general. But it's obvious just how much the diet has changed and how much they've grown. And Koreans, like, I remember going back in the 90s, and when I was there, I saw very few people that were over 6 feet tall, or 183, 185 centimeters. But now, recently when I went a year and a half ago, it seemed like I could see at least a few people over 6 feet under the age of 25 everywhere I went. So for the next generation, they're getting so much taller. They're also getting a little bit bigger in terms of body size. And this is true with women as well. They're getting taller and a little bit larger as well. So I think they're going to have challenges there for sure in terms of their beauty standard, or that's going to have to adapt a little bit just because there's a growing population that's not going to be able to fit that ideal beauty standard that they have there as well. But especially with the cosmetics industry, makeup, all that stuff too, just Korean beauty products, right? It's so huge there, everything and the expectation to look a certain way. So this doesn't surprise me at all, and all the plastic surgery and all that too. So yeah, good point.
The one that really troubles me, that people who are older than you expect unconditional respect. You have to honor them, you have to listen to any bullshit they say. That's kind of Korean culture aspect that I really cannot get along with. I'm just like, well, you might be old, but if you're an old fart, very bad manner person, I should not respect you just because you live longer time on the...
Okay, so this is the really, really interesting comment that she made. Korean culture, I mean, is still so Confucian in many ways, right? And so the respect for the elders is so critical, and it is a given. No matter how they act, right, is something that is defaulted respect to them, and I think that's something that everyone should get along with. And I just don't know, maybe is her limited English, or maybe she is speaking of specific examples. But I think that's a good thing, respect for elders in general. And yes, I agree. It doesn't mean that they should be able to get away with being rude and condescending and bad manners to you, right? I mean, if there's an old person who comes up to you on the street and starts berating you, yeah, then they don't deserve your respect. But in general, I think default respect to elders should be a good thing. And if they're a little blunt, well, again, this is part of Korean culture, and you are in Korea, right? If I go into a foreign country, I am expected to live by their rules, their laws, and adapt to their culture and language and everything, right? And so I don't know about this. I mean, No, I'm thinking of Squid Games. Of course, season 2 is about to come out, but if you've seen season 1, spoiler alert right now, just in case you're one of the few who haven't seen it. But in Squid Games, the player number 1, the old grandpa, everyone speaks him so deferentially, right? So if you know Korean language, it has different registers of language, right? Different, I forgot what it's called, but anyways, this high register of deferential honorifics and respect. And when you translate to English, you don't quite hear it, you don't quite catch it all. By the end, again, spoiler alert, by the end, they're not happy with him, right? The main character, he's not happy with player number 1. And he speaks him really rudely by switching registers to a casual register. The register of language itself that's switched is the insult, right? So he doesn't have to say, oh, you jerk, and blah, 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 blah. He just talks to him in a different register normally, and that is extremely insulting. And so he, in that case, yeah, he doesn't show him that respect. He didn't earn it. So I guess in that kind of case, this girl would be right. But I'd be curious to know, just maybe, did she have some really bad experiences? Or is she saying that in general? Because I think in general, yeah, you should give elders respect. It should be defaulted until they lose the right to have that, I guess. I don't know. Let me know what you think. If that's something that should be given to them, default, or if they have to earn it. Again, I think it's good thing to, in general, to respect your elders until they give you a reason not to. In Korean, Chinese, I think Mandarin specifically, Japanese, and English as well. Again, just a pleasure to ride.
Thanks.
I used to work as a DJ for 6 years in Gangnam. Though I had not that many boyfriends, but the image I presented, like my outfit or something, like people thought, oh, she's Russian, she might be approachable, and she came to me and asked like how expensive I am. So sorry, not on the sale. I wish people respect each other a bit more. Probably, no matter how hard you try, no matter how good you speak Korean, no matter how good you know the culture, there will be we and you. Even if you get the Korean passport, they will never see you as Korean. And also, the better you look in Korea, the better is your life. You should always take care of how you look, what you wear, what is your makeup, how you smell, what you speak, because it influences a lot on your life. The more beautiful you are, the easier you can get the job, you can get the help you need, just based on your look.
Okay, so that's just disgusting again. And I guess she's going to run to a different crowd, being a DJ in some of those clubs and stuff. But just the whole thought of human trafficking and for sale and all that, and even prostitution and all those things, it just makes me so sad and disgusted. Even if those guys are joking, right? Even if it's still disgusting, that's not really a good way to pick up girls and meet people. So that just really makes me sad. And it sounds like she didn't have the greatest experience, unfortunately. But of course, in that context, she's probably going to meet a few more bad apples. Maybe a higher concentration of rotting apples in that basket. Yeah, this is interesting. Because Korea is so homogenous again, I agree. It's always going to be we and you, like she said. I think this is the case with a lot of other places. I have friends who lived in Nigeria, and they were white, and they're white Americans. And I think some of them did end up getting Nigerian passports, and they'd lived there for, I'm talking 15, 20 plus years, but they would never be considered Nigerian. So I don't know, like, it's with a homogenous culture, right? Until the demographics change significantly. I don't know if that should be that surprising, even if that is frustrating, though, for sure. And also, yeah, how good you look. I feel like that's kind of true everywhere. So, yeah, I don't disagree with her, but it seems to be to me that the better you look, the easier your life will be. It just seems, I don't know, but it just seems to be a general kind of observation that I think is true.
I kind of like study Korean culture as part of my major, and so I did have a lot more better understanding for it. But I guess for people who may not know is, I guess, proper etiquette of like how to maybe like when you enter like a restaurant or something like that, maybe like a quick little greeting or like bowing, taking your shoes off before you enter certain places, and knowing a basic amount of Korean.
So here's the one. Here's the one I really want to talk about. Is it really that common to keep your shoes on? Come on. Like, I'm Asian, I know. We always take our shoes off going into any indoor place, but I live in Canada, and most of my non-Asian Canadian friends also take their shoes off. Where are these places where you keep your shoes on going into a house? I did have one friend who, they had a rule where you could keep your shoes on the main floor, but they have to take them off going into their bedrooms or upstairs or basement. But I never understood that, because you're just tracking mud and dirt and all that stuff from outside in. Why not switch to slippers or sandals if you want something on your feet, or keep your socks on? But if you don't track that in, isn't it easier to keep your house and your floor clean? I just never understood that. Is it that foreign? Am I that out there and that rare? Are Asians that strange to take our shoes off? Let me know in the comments. Thanks.
That people expect you to follow unspoken rules. It's not legal stuff or something, but they expect you to act like Korean. I was born in another place. I have different cultural background, but they just like, oh, if you live in Korea, then you must act, you must behave like us. No, I just must follow the legal rules. But they say, no, if you don't want to follow our rules, like the unspoken rules, why are you staying? Maybe you should leave. And I just like, I haven't asked your opinion about that.
All right, so my sister here, again, I feel bad for her. I think she's had some rough experiences. But in the end, again, I've said this, but if you're in a different country, it's not enough just to follow their legal rules. You should probably follow their kind of ethical rules, their moral rules, and their cultural values as well, right? I'm not going to go into a foreign country and just be allowed Canadian, right? And then just be like, oh, this is my way, right? This is my country, or this is how we do it back in Canada, right? That would be inappropriate. That would be rude, and that would just be a jerk, right? Jerk move. So I don't know about that. I think in many ways, yeah, you got to adapt to the country you're in. So again, I'm sympathetic with her because I think she's gone through a lot there. But obviously she's still there. So something about it's keeping her. And I know this video is about things no one tells you before coming to Korea. So it's going to be mostly negative. But that one, I don't know if I agree with that one. Again, let me know if you think differently, but I really think you got to adapt to the culture you're in. As long as it doesn't compromise with your own beliefs. And if it does, well, maybe it's not the best place to visit or stay in for a long time, right? It's different being a tourist or living there like she obviously is. So I think that's a little different. If you're going to live there, you got to adapt. So folks, thanks so much for checking in. If you like this style of video, if you like this series, K-Explorer, definitely feel free to recommend more in the comments, or if you want me to comment on other aspects of Korea or other cultural things or just other videos. I'm not going to do just Korea videos. I will be looking at other things, but I remember watching this and just thought it would be an interesting one to start with. So thank you so much for tuning in. Make sure you take care of yourselves.